And the MVP of that series joins us. And you know him as the first ballot to Hall of Famer, Mike Schmidt. Mike, say hello to Dan Harold. It is Fran. First thing I got to ask you before we dive into the World Series, what's up with the jersey? I love it. There's got to be a story behind it.
Morning, guys. And I'm honored that you've recognized the 40th anniversary of our World Series championship in Philadelphia. This jersey was used on the Goldbergs show, which is a show about that period, that decade in Philadelphia. And then a lot of times they highlight one of the sports teams in the show. And one of the times they used my jersey on the show. And one of the things they did with the jersey on the show was they called it bedazzling. And the mother on the show put these little studs all over the jersey and gave it to one of the kids. Oh, and they sent it to me after the show. It's never been worn. It's actually too small, and it's actually 90 degrees out here where I'm sitting, so I may want to peel it off here in a minute. But my wife said, well, why don't you wear that bedazzled jersey if you're going to be on MLB this morning? So she talked me into it, and I did. And here I am.
Smart lady. There you go.
There. Pretty cool, huh?
Absolutely. Mike, you were the MVP of the series. What was it like for you to bring a World Series championship to Philadelphia? It was the first one in Phillies history.
Fran, it was pretty exciting. First of all, we had failed in the postseason, but in 76, 77, and 78, we got close, but in the postseason, but we got hammered by the Reds, Big Red Machine in 76, and beaten by the Dodgers in 77 and 78. Of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates won it in 79, and we got in it. We got in it by the skin of our teeth in 1980. We just, I guess we were the kind of the team that wouldn't die, and we got in it, and we brought a championship to Philadelphia. And for all of us, I think all of the guys that had been together on that team, had lived together in the offseason in Philadelphia after suffering those 3 years in the postseason. We all kind of felt like we were guys that couldn't play well under pressure. We couldn't bring the championship home, and finally in 1980 we did. So I guess it kind of relieved the pressure of not being able to get it done in the postseason, not being able to get in the World Series after failing 3 times. And for me personally, I got a few big hits for the team down the stretch there, and kind of made us guys that could play under pressure and do the job. So that's one of the things in your career that you want to have. You know, you want to have for your resume to be complete as a player. That championship ring on your finger sort of makes that happen.
Mike, you were part of some great games and a big part of some great games. 1979. A 23-22 game at Wrigley Field. What do you remember about that crazy game?
Well, actually, the anniversary of that, I believe, was recently. Somebody called me and said that, you know what today is? Today's the anniversary of the 22 game. So much happened in that game, Dan, and it's a long time ago, 79, I guess you said. So that's 40 years ago, and it's hard for me to remember specifics other than I believe my home run at the end won the game, 23-22. I know I got a few walks in the game. I think 4 or 5 guys hit 2 home runs in that game. I believe Dave Kingman almost hit 3 home runs in that game, or almost had a chance of hitting his 4th, I think. I'm not sure, but I know he hit a few. One of the wild ones. I know it's been replayed on MLB several times. It's always one that's talked about, Dan, and just goes to show you how crazy baseball can get at times, especially at Wrigley Field, with a little breeze blowing out. Not a good day to pitch, right?
No, not at all, Mike.
Hey, Mike, it's Harold here. I grew up in Oregon, and I remember as a little leaguer, early teenage years, I grew up with a buddy of mine, Kurt Kemp, who's an executive with the Padres now. And his dad used to take us to the Eugene Emerald games, and he'd say, watch Boa, Schmidt, and Luzinski. And he said, Schmidt's the guy. What do you remember about playing in Eugene in AAA in those days?
Well, we had a great team. Harold, I believe Boa and Luzinski played the year prior to me. They were both in the major leagues the year we played there. We had an unbelievable team. You know, a lot of guys that played in the major leagues the year prior to that year were on the team. You know, we had Andy Thornton and Bob Spence. These are some names that most people may not remember, but Craig Robinson, shortstop. John Vukovic played on that team. Bob Boone was a catcher. You guys remember Oscar Gamble, right?
Oh yeah. Did he have a throw back then too?
Yeah. So we had a lot of really experienced players on that team, and so did Albuquerque, by the way. Albuquerque was, you know, in the Pacific Coast League, and Say and Yeager and you know, Doug Rao, and there was a lot of really good players. Davey Lopes was on that team, so we were the two premier teams in the league at that time. And what a fun league to play in, guys. We went to Hawaii twice in the season and stayed for 8 days each time to play the Hawaiian Islanders. So that was one of the cool things about that year. And Eugene, the Willamette Valley, I believe they call it, Harold.
Yes, sir. You're spot on, Mike.
What's that?
You're dead on. Willamette Valley,
Okay,
no doubt
good.
about it.
No brains working this morning. You know, there's a lot of rain, right? Have a lot of rain up in that part of the country, and aside from the rain, the weather was, you know, when it wasn't raining, it was beautiful. You know, it's nice and cool out there, and I remember the stadium, absolutely. Harold, that was the first place I ever learned to hit a ball to right field. They had I believe it was, 290, 270, something like that to right center with a short wall, and I hit a couple fly balls to right center, and they actually went over the 290 fence out there, and I went, "What is that? You mean you can hit a ball to right field, get a home run?" I didn't know you could hit a ball the opposite field to get a home run. Oh yeah, 280, 90. I remember that. I played second base, Harold. I played second base that year, which was a lot of fun. More involved in what's going on defensively, and I had a pretty good year individually. And a long way from Philly, but I got called up at the end of the year, and you know, I guess that was kind of the year that propelled me onto my career.
That's
Mike,
awesome, man.
enjoy the year-long celebration of your 40-year anniversary of the Phillies winning the World Series. Always great to talk to you, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe, and hope to see you sometime down the road here in the summer at a baseball game.
Sounds good.
Dan, I can't believe you didn't give us a Michael Jack Schmidt. Dan, you got to leave us with that.
Man.
You got to leave us with that.
Michael Jack Schmidt, out of here.
Yeah, guys, have a good day.